You are listening to the Prosperous Law Podcast. Learn how to reduce stress, have more time, and make more money. Come on in.
I'm Greg McCollum, and I built a 7-figure criminal defense law firm. I formed Prosperous Law to show criminal defense law firm owners who are desperate for success how to grow from under $200,000 to $1 million and beyond. Hi, Greg McCollum here with another edition of Prosperous Law. Thanks for joining me. At Prosperous Law, we coach criminal defense lawyers, criminal defense law firm owners, and show them how to grow their lives, grow their practices. And we do that by just showing them some pretty simple things. And I was taught, and I've learned by experience now, because I have a 7-figure law firm, criminal defense only, quickly becoming a multi-7-figure law firm. And this is something that took me a long time to develop. And my mentors told me, they said, this is simple. It's not that difficult. It's something that almost anyone can do. It's not easy. It's not easy, and it can be time consuming, but it isn't that complicated. They're just, 6 areas of a business, and they're the same for every business. It doesn't matter if your business is located in the United States or somewhere else. It doesn't matter what state you live in. The 7 parts of a business are the same for all businesses. It's the same for McDonald's. It's the same for Starbucks. It's the same for Bank of America. And it's the same for your law firm. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, then that's just an indication that you were where I was, because I had no idea. And when I heard there were basically 7 parts, meaning that you are the most important part, but the business parts are the same 6 parts for everybody. And so when I first heard this, it was like someone was speaking a different language. And since then, I've learned not a new language, but terms and things like maybe someone else hasn't heard. And if you got a business degree, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But for most lawyers, they don't. So at Prosperous Law, our ideal client are lawyers who are struggling. They have issues with too little time, too few clients, too few paying clients, too many difficult clients, something I call F clients, and not enough money coming in, and not the right people and the right systems to manage it all. So if that's the case, then say you're making $200,000 a year gross, or you're making even $250,000 or more than that. You could be making $500,000 a year gross income and doing sort of okay financially, but your life is in disarray. Your days are hard. You're under a tremendous amount of stress, and you're just unhappy doing it. So our ideal client for us to help at Prosperous Law is somebody who is in this kind of stressful, chaotic environment, who doesn't earn enough money to live the way they want to live. And so the idea is that if a person is under $500,000 or under $300,000, some people who just started out, or who something changed in their practice area, could be making under $150,000 a year. And so for those people, what we do is we show them and teach them one step at a time how to increase that revenue, say 30, 40, 50%, maybe 100% over 18 months or something like that, and get them to these other defined levels so that you learn how to do it, you start getting some success, you start getting some money in the door, You start getting other people to help you. You try to start bringing in some systems and some A players, and then within a few years, anybody who works at it, who learns and grows, can take a struggling law firm making, say, $120,000 a year gross over $1 million. And you can do that probably in, say, 3 to 5 years. And if that seems absolutely crazy to you, it's because you don't believe it. I didn't believe it, but now I believe it because I've done it, and I continue to do it. The other benefit for Prosperous Law is that I have a functioning, soon-to-be multi-seven-figure criminal defense law firm. I continue to grow the firm. I continue to learn things, and am able to pass those along. So here we go. Today's topic is, what is your law firm brand? So what is your law firm brand? Because your law firm is a business. It's at least a practice area. You sell legal services to consumers, and you are the product. Your service is the product. And so what is your brand? And if you sit there and say, well, I'm a lawyer. I'm Denise Johnson. What are you talking about, Greg McCollum? What is my brand? I'm a lawyer. Lawyers don't have brands. We're people, we're lawyers, and everyone knows that. I'm Denise Johnson, or I'm Sam Mendenhall. I'm a lawyer. You have a brand. You just don't know it. And you also have a brand that either you created or it was thrust upon you by default. And if you think about everything that you consume in terms of televisions, cars, your house, your clothes, your digital products, your computers, everything has a brand. Now, some of them are well-defined brands, like this Apple computer. That's a specific brand, and there are plenty of knockoff brand computers, all right? But they're knockoff brand computers. So what are they? That's the brand. So you, as a lawyer, you have a brand. And if you're selling services or providing service to your clients and to the market, what your brand is has a big effect on your business and who you attract. Now, I've done some other podcast episodes about this, not on the law firm brand, but I've done it on your personal style brand. In other words, how do you personally appear? What do you wear? What kind of clothes do you wear? How are you groomed? What do you look like? And is that consistent? Is that professional? Or is it haphazard and not consistent? That's a factor with the personal style brand. I've also talked about in this podcast how your physical office, where you're located, what it looks like, what the lobby looks like, what the parking lot looks like, what the landscaping looks like, the type of building it is. Are you in a multi-story office building or bank building, or are you in a house? Are you in a strip mall? Your office, that's your office, and how it attracts and repels clients. And then, but this is not about that. This is about your law firm brand. It's okay. What are you doing with your brand? Are you doing anything? Have you ever thought about it? Because it's something that if you're going to grow significantly, you need your brand to be consistent. And one of the first things that I see is that when somebody goes and opens a law firm or somebody works for the government and they go to hang out their shingle and do that sort of thing, then what do? Well, what do people tell you? Well, you need business cards, you need to get a website, you need certain things. So now you're talking to somebody who's going to build your website or print your business cards or whatever it is, and they tell you you need a logo. So chances are you never thought about a logo, you don't know how to design a logo, you never even considered a logo. And so what happens with that? What happens is that somebody who's just trying to sell you business cards or sell you a website, they come up with some logo, and the way they do it is they take your name or your initials and they put it in a little design, and they slap some colors on it, and that's your logo. And what I see is that people have signs and business cards and logos, some of which you really can't even read. You can't read it driving by it. Like the billboard company will tell you, don't put more than 7 words on the billboard. So how the typeface is done, the color scheme, all of that matters. And so are you going to have yellow on your business card this year, and then you switch to lime green, and then you thought the purple looked good or the blue? That's not a brand. That's just being inconsistent. And if you went to buy a Coca-Cola and the can wasn't red, it was lime green, and the letters were written differently, that would confuse you, and it may keep you from buying it. And you may think, what the hell happened to Coca-Cola Company? They've lost their mind. You're in the same situation. And so in terms of your brand, in terms of your logo, in terms of brand, let me talk about brand for a minute. Who do you want to help? What's your ideal client? If you're a family court law firm, do you help women? Do you help men? Do you help women be rescued from get out of abusive relationships? Do you stick it to adulterous, philandering men? Do you protect men from their crazy, deranged wives? Do you is your practice area that you make sure children are cared for and taken care of? That's a choice. And I've also talked about door law versus being intentional. So if you say, well, I'm a family court lawyer and I represent anybody who can write me a check, then that's undefined. And most people do that, but that's not really an ideal client persona. If you develop your ideal client persona, and like, for example, in our law firm, Complete Legal Defense Team, that's our brand, our color scheme, and this is not a real good representation of it, progress, not perfection. That's the typeface. This is close to the color. That's a whole nother podcast. And then we defend the accused who have a lot to lose. That's everywhere. That's who we are. I've had people sitting in my conference room, and there's a sign in there too that looks just like that, and people sitting in there who wanted to retain us to represent them on a criminal case, and they point at the sign which says, "We defend the accused who have a lot to lose." They point at the sign and say, "That's me. That's me. I need your help." That's what the brand will do for you. Now, part of the brand is what's been called a magic statement or an elevator pitch. And this is something that you can develop, but you have to develop it in conjunction with your ideal client persona. Who is your ideal client? at Complete Legal Defense Team, our law firm, our ideal client are people who have a lot to lose. And what does that mean? It means they're usually people who have never been arrested before, who have something to lose or have a lot of things to lose. In other words, it could be a parent who's taking care of his family. It could be a man who's, is a high wage earner, and he and his wife and 3 children live in a nice neighborhood, and they travel and they do things. And so he doesn't want to lose that. He gets a felony conviction or goes to prison. That's all gone. And those people are hurt. It could be somebody who has a professional license, a real estate license, or a pharmacy license, or a medical license, engineer, any license. If they get a felony conviction, that license is gone. It's gone. Their career is over, and they're going to, quote, lose everything. So that's our ideal client, and that's who we market to. Now, if somebody who has a criminal record comes in and they're not an F client and they're willing to pay the fees that we charge and listen to us, we'll help them too, okay? We're not going to throw them out of the office. And those people will still come to us even though we're marketing to a different demographic group. Now, one day, do we stop representing people that don't fit the ideal client persona? I don't think so, okay? That's the marketing brand. That's who we're seeking. That's who we can help the most. People identify with that. And there are also people who have criminal records who they don't see themselves as criminals. And when you hear the story and hear what happened, at least I tend to agree with them, okay? Or it's something from the distant past and they've overcome it, but now something else has come up in their life. So what I see is that the brand gets slapped together. It gets slapped together by some person that owns a printing company or owns a website building company, and you're just in the product line, and so they have to put something up there, and they want it to look good, and they want you to buy it, and they want to finish it. And so the issue with this is that to do it in the way I'm talking about, it takes time. But it doesn't take time in the sense that it takes hours or days or weeks to pick it or do something. If they show you a menu of things and you say, okay, I'll take C. I like C. You've already limited yourself because you're taking what they have, their templates, and saying, I'll do that. So the hardest part of this is you're a busy, stressed out, underpaid lawyer, and you don't have time to sit and think. You don't have time to take a walk. You don't have time to go in the backyard and be left alone. You don't have time to get away from people because something's pulling at you constantly. For years, I couldn't set my mobile phone down because I didn't want to miss a call, because I was desperate to make some money so I could pay the bills and get through the week. So that's the challenging part, because you need time to think about it. Think about who you are, who you really are, not who someone told you are, who you are and what you want to do and how you want to do it. So that's the toughest part. The other thing is the magic statement or your elevator pitch, your slogan, okay? That's not easy to come up with. And we defend the accused who have a lot to lose is probably about the 500th or 1,000th thing I wrote down. So I would get out a legal pad and I would just write them and just write them and just write them and get nowhere. And then another day or night or something, I'd get the legal pad out, and I'd read through them, and maybe get an idea, and I'd write out another 30, and they would suck, and they would be stupid. And I would think, how am I going to ever do this? And so this could go on for, it may take you 9 months of doing that to come up with it, okay? But that doesn't mean you have to spend the next 9 months coming up with your slogan. It just means you have to be intentional, and when you have some time and some moments of quiet, do that exercise. Write it out. Think about who you are. Write it out. Write it out. Also, in terms of your logo, the same thing. One of the things that I did was I wanted a .com. So that limited what I could call the law firm, because I wanted a .com. I didn't want a .co. I didn't want a .law. I wanted a .com. And those can be very difficult. Now, there are other things you can do by putting dots in there and spaces and things to do okay. But when I found CompleteLegalDefenseTeam.com, that's what I wanted. And Complete Legal Defense Team doesn't have the word criminal in it, okay? It also doesn't have the word lawyer in it. Complete Legal Defense Team. Most of our clients, if not all of them, do not think of themselves or consider themselves to be criminals. So that brand, along with we defend the accused who have a lot to lose, attracts the people who have never been arrested before, who are in this terrible jam, and then we are the perfect law firm for them. But this didn't come easy. This isn't something that you can, take an hour and fix. This isn't something you can get on a Zoom call with your marketing person or printer and fix. This takes time. Now, the good news is, if you're Joe Johnson and you do what you do, you can still market. You can still market. You can still hire people. You can still run ads. And you can run what you've got as you're working on it. And then over time, then you can plug in your slogan. Then you can plug in your logo, which you've taken the time to develop. So you can work and make money and grow your law firm as this develops. You can't wait to get it perfect, because it just takes too long if you do it right. So what can you do? And I have a note in here: don't hire an agency to build a brand. Okay, don't hire an agency to build a brand. Take a vacation from work to build a brand. Get quiet. Give yourself time to do this, and you can still grow and market as you do it. And when you think about this, the things that you want to look at are, who do you help? Okay, who does your law firm help? Who do you want to help? When you start thinking about who you want to help, what your ideal client looks like, it'll be easier, and you'll start to form a better idea of your brand. The other thing is what is your practice area? How many practice areas do you have? Do you have 10 practice areas? Do you have 5? Do you have 3 main ones and sometimes 3 others, and then something else happens and you take that? That will give you a lot of brand confusion. That will do the opposite of what you think it's doing, whereas you think, I do all these things, then you're everything for everybody, which means you're nothing. Everything for everybody, it means you're nothing. Let's say that I'm a coach, and I coach major college football, but then in the spring I coach a baseball team, and then on occasion I go to Europe and coach a soccer team. makes no sense, right? And the reason is because ability and basically expertise comes from concentration and improvement. And so if you do all those things, you really diminish your value. And everybody I know told me, and they still tell me, that I am crazy to limit my law firm to criminal defense. And so what's the other thing? If I say, well, I'm going to do family law, or I'm going to do some real estate closings on the side, that's just fear creeping in. That's that I don't believe in myself. I don't believe in my brand. I don't believe in my ability to help. I don't believe in my ability to attract the criminal defense clients that I want. And so take a look at that. What are you doing with that? The things that I see that limit law firm growth is not a defined practice area, lack of brand identity, and lack of an ideal client definition. Those are the things that blur who you are. It's hard enough for people to comprehend your brand when it's clearly stated and everything is consistent. It still takes a tremendous amount of repetition and showing that to people and representing that over and over for people to even catch on. And they're very slow to catch on to that. But if you have none of it, then you're even more difficult to spot. You're more in the background. You're this hazy picture competing with a lot of clearly defined brands, and you just get lost in the mix. So I think that probably when you start to change some of this stuff, that there's some of these things are harder to do and some are easier. But if you start somewhere, if you just start working on something, then you start getting some incremental improvement. So can you be successful without a brand? Yes. Can you be successful without an ideal client persona? Yes. Can you be successful doing multiple practice areas? Yes. Will it limit your success? Yes. Will you hit a plateau with that and only get so far? Yes. Because you don't have the focus and the intention and the ability to make people see that and to become something that's in a unique space. You want to be in the blue ocean. You want to be yourself. You want to be who you are, and then attract people into that. So something to think about. What is your law firm brand? You have one, whether it's by default or whether it's intentional. Your brand defines you. It tells people who you are. It attracts or repels people to your law firm. So thank you for listening. It's another edition of Prosperous Law Podcast. I hope you got something out of this. Please join in and listen to us next time. I'm Greg McCollum. That's all for now. Thank you. If you want to know more, go to prosperoutlaw.com. We show criminal defense law firm owners how to reduce stress, have more free time, and make more money. Thanks for listening.